Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, today we're going to jump in and take a look at part 2 of the Spooky Farm vignette. And like I told you the last tutorial, you're going to see today everything's been painted in the flat black, and we're ready to start detailing with some of the paintings to sort of match that rock texture we're going to be using around the sides and the front of this base that it's going to sit on. So with that, let's jump right in and take a look at what we've got to work with, and we'll get started painting. Okay, let's take a look at some of the pieces now. We've got the ramp going up into the barn that's painted the flat black paint. You can see that it's dried, looks pretty good. The top will be covered with a building. This sits right on top of it, so no need to really paint this here. Same for the other piece that the house sits on. Obviously, we'll do these stairs a little bit differently than we do the rest of the rock work, but we're going to try to paint the rock work to match the fieldstone wall that's going to be around the top of the display. And then for the main base itself, you can see that the rock work is done and detailed into the flat black. Looks pretty good. And then the top of the platform has been painted a little bit of brown and a little bit of green over top, just sponge painted back there to help mask where that cornfield is going to go, to kind of give it a more realistic look as we start to jump in and start putting that stuff down. And so for paint today, we're going to use a different varying shades of grays and browns to kind of color individual stones to help them pop out and look more like fieldstone. We're going to start with a darker gray. This is Anita's, but it could be any Craftsmart type acrylic paint. And so I use a dark gray. This will get the whole thing covered in a dry brush, darker gray first. And then we'll go through and lighten certain stones with a lighter gray. We'll continue to lighten and darken, depending on the color, stones in sort of a brown color, sort of a goldish, lighter brown color, and then in a more of almost a white peachy color, just a little bit, probably mixed in with some darker paints to get some of that different colors to look okay in there. We may end up putting a black wash on this when it's all done. If we need to do that, we'll be able to see shortly after we start painting if we're going to be able to, or if we're going to need to do that. But with that, let's get this paint on the palette and we'll start putting the paint on and see how it's going to look. All right, we're going to start with a darker of the grays. I've already got a little bit out there. Put a little bit more out there to see how that's going to take. And then for this piece here, we're just going to start lightly dry brushing some of this on. And we're just going to take some various paints and create the palette that we're going to use to paint some of these other rocks. I think that's going to do it for that. Just kind of a smattering of different colors to help that out. We may do another wash over top of it, but that looks pretty good just like that. Okay, so we'll set that aside and let it dry. Okay, well, hopefully that gives you a better idea of how we're painting the edges of this display to look like the flagstone or the fieldstone rather that we're going to use in the display. Now, we're going to get close to this, but it's not going to be identical. This is hard to replicate. This is made of actual stone, or it's a mold that is designed to look like stone, and it's all, professionally painted. And so it's gonna resemble this, but my cuts are of foam and not of stone. So it'll look close, but not absolutely perfect. But I think you'll see the resemblance, and that's what we're going for. The paint is obviously new. We just put it on, and so it doesn't look weathered. And so the piece that I just showed you is very weathered based on the paint and the way they did that. So what I'll do off camera, before you see it again next time, I'll have a black wash, and I'll have gone over everything that we painted today with a black wash to help weather it and age it and make it look more representative of the look that we're absolutely going for. And so the next time you see it, you'll see that, and so that'll be different. But with that, let's jump off the tripod and onto the display that's set up, and so you can see how it's taken shape and see what you think. Okay, you can see the display now set up, and you can see what I'm talking about. It's so new looking down here that it's not perfect, but it does resemble what we're trying to accomplish, and so that looks pretty good. And so when we weather it and we do the black wash on it, I think it'll look a whole lot better, but not too awful bad. You can see I did paint the stairs going up into here to make them look more of an old brown plank type deal, and you can see the base of the house going around. Now we still have to do some work behind the house. You can see that there. It's going to have some moss put down and stuff in the back of the house. So I've still got some painting to do back there. You can see the chicken coop's going to be about there. And then you can see how the barn is starting to take shape. Now there's going to be sand covering all of this all the way up into this area here and all the way over to here. That's already been marked out. So that'll all be covered in sand, so I'm not too awful worried about that. And then again, behind the barn, you can see that there's still some work to do that'll require some painting and then some moss. And so all that'll be done by the next time that you see it. But I just wanted you to see the base and how we're going to do the foundation of the house. And so it's certainly starting to take some better shape than when the last time that you saw it. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully it's starting to come together, and you can see how it's gonna the final piece will look. Okay, well that's going to wrap up part 2 of the Spooky Farm tutorial. This was all about getting the painting on and the details on and getting it start to blend in with the fieldstone fence that's going to go around it. So it looks like, hopefully when it's done and washed and a little more weathered, it'll look like one big piece kind of going into the final display. Still got a lot of work to do on this one. Getting ready to head out of town for a few days on some work stuff. So don't know how many more pieces I'm going to get done to this before I get back. So we'll try to get at least one more in before I head out. And that obviously you got that to look forward to. I haven't forgot about Witch Hollow. That's coming as soon as we're done with this. Probably the middle to later part of October is when we'll start on that piece, and we'll get that done. But as always, if you've liked this video for this tutorial, make sure you click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and consider doing so. The channel continues to grow, and it's thanks to folks like you that are subscribing, your support, that is making that happen. So I want to say thank you for doing that. So take care of yourselves. Until next time, we'll talk again real soon.